So we're going to start drawing problem 7-7 using Inventor. This drawing is in inches, so we're just going to go ahead and get started with the standard IPT file from the beginning. When I'm looking at this one, I need to really decide what plane I'm going to create my first sketch on. So I'm going to look on the view and take a look. I want to start with the top view this time, which is a little bit different than some of the other drawings. If I wanted to, I could start with the back part that had the little slot there on the end. I could put that on the XY plane and then draw off the top, but I want to start on the top view because that has a lot of the detail, and usually that's what I like to start with, is the view that has the most detail and a view that I can lay out, a bunch of stuff at one time. So I'm going to locate the circle on the end there that has a radius of 1, so that means the diameter, the radius of 0.5, and that means the diameter is 1. So I'm going to put that on the center point, and I'm going to lay out that 1-inch diameter. Then looking at the center location from the center to the back part of that problem, I'm going to want to lay that out. So I'm just going to make, I think at this point, I'm just going to come in here and make a little sketch of the part and kind of get this all laid out. I'm just, sketching the basic geometry. I don't have it to, I haven't specified any geometric dimensions, or I get the geometric constructions, just, tangent and parallel and things like that. So this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to go ahead and make this line here tangent to the circle, so that's going to bring that down. And I'm going to do the same with the bottom line, and it's going to bring that line up. So that's a geometric constraint, and that's going to lock those two lines there. And I might as well go ahead and extend those two lines while I'm here, and that's going to get that piece. So I'm going to now put the horizontal dimension from this edge to this edge, and that is specified in our book as 3.625. So I'm going to dimension that, and looks like I'm going to have to do that on both of them because I did not have that. All right, I'll fix that one. Let's make the next dimension 1.25. So this is 1.25. And I'm going to pick this. I'm going to see if I can just do a little crossing window and just drag this over here. Okay, get that point or that line and drag it. Maybe because it's constrained. I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to delete my constraints. I'm just going to pull this over here. I just lost the that being horizontal, so I'm going to constrain that horizontal. Oh well, let me just kind of start over with that. I'm going to draw another line here and up to here, and we'll fix that and then get rid of that line. There we go. Sometimes that happens. So usually if you start out with your problem being a little bit more to the actual size of the part, those dimension constraints, when you adjust those, it'll be a little bit more forgiving. This one wasn't forgiving at all, so apologize for that. Alright, so I put the back end dimension on that, so that's 2 inches, and now I need to get this rest of this centered. So if this is 1 inch here, this needs to be 1/2 inch, so get that centered, and that's going to constrain that line. I want to go ahead and trim out that circle because I don't need that. And I'm going to use my fillet command at the end to get this fillet, so I'm not going to lay out that right now, but I am going to go ahead and draw that other little slot that's in here. So that slot has a radius of 0.25, so the diameter is 1/2 inch. I'm going to draw another circle down here, another 1/2 inch diameter. I do need to locate that with a dimension and space those apart, which would be 1.75. So I place that there, and then I'm going to draw another line on top of that quadrant to that quadrant, and do that on the bottom. Alright, I'm going to trim out that circle. trim. Here we go. Trim that. And I might as well, so I need to get some dimensions here that that's not constrained. I'm just going to go ahead and do the auto dimension, hit apply, and it's going to go ahead and constrain that part so everything is constrained and locked down. So everything is looking good there. Ready to go ahead and extrude this piece, 0.38. So I'm going to just go ahead and extrude the surface. So I'm going to pick the surface and specify that, and I'm going to change the direction. I'm going to go down 0.38, and that's going to give me the first part of that. I do have a couple more holes I need to go back. I'm going to use the hole command, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and do the fillet now. So the fillet has a 0.5 fillet, so I want to change the radius right here to 0.5 and pick on 0 selected, and then come in here and pick on the line that is in the corner of that fillet. It's a little bit different from AutoCAD. You don't have to pick on two separate lines. You just pick right in the corner, and that fillet is already generated. So I've got this laid out here. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the points on here, locate those points. And because I have two of them, I'm just going to go ahead and use the point command, and I'm going to just drop in 2 points, and I'm going to put a dimension on that point to locate where that counter bore is going to be located. So that dimension is 0.75. It is 0.5 from the edge. I don't know what has happened to my little dialog box there, but my dimension box is not popping up. So this one, the same as 0.5. And keeping these two pieces 1 inch apart, so that's there. And let's go ahead and constrain this one horizontally. Come on. We'll try that again. 0.75. And there we go. So I'm going to finish this sketch, and I'm going to go over to my hole command and pick those points. Now, when I'm over in the hole command, now I've got to look at the information. So looking at the note in the book, it says 2 times 0.25 through. They did leave off the diameter symbol in the textbook, so we need to make sure that we know that that through hole is 0.25. Then that's the second line is followed by the counter bore sign, which says the counter bore has the diameter of 0.5 that goes a depth of 0.125. So I'm going to switch my hole type to counter bore. It is not threaded, so I'm going to unselect. I'm going to go back to just a standard hole. It was on the tapped hole from the last time I had used this, so I'm switching back over to a standard simple hole, counter bore, and now I'm going through the part, through all. Now I have to specify my dimensions. So the first dimension on top is a 0.5, and the depth is a 0.125. So I'm going to type that in. The through hole is 0.25. That's already set, and that's all it takes. And then hit OK. And now we have 2 counter bore holes that are drawn perfectly located in that view, and everything looks wonderful. So moving on to the back part, this is going to be the end of this part. I've got all of the detail laid out on the top view, so I'm going to look at the right side view, and I'm going to add this extra little shape down here. So I'm going to click on that, create my sketch off of this. I'm going to just go ahead and draw another rectangle. Just tends to be a quicker draw using that rectangle command. I'm going to dimension this at 1.38. Okay, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to come back and do the fillet on the end, just like we did before using the fillet command. Now, I want you to note that there's a slot there, and we're going to put that on both sides. That slot is going to be located 0.31 from the edge, and we need to draw 2 circles that have a circle that has a radius of 0.125, so that means the diameter is 0.25. So I've got to have 2 circles that have that diameter 0.25. And then a slot is basically connecting the two edges or the outside edges there. So we just need to have another line going from quadrant to quadrant, and then trimming that up. We'll get that in place there. So now let's locate this. So from the bottom edge to the first center point is 0.31. And then from this center to this center is 0.25. And then from this edge to this edge is 0.31. And I hope my top one moves along with it, and it did. So that's exactly what we want. So I've got a couple other lines here that are purple, so I'm just going to hit my auto dimension and apply those dimensions for me, and it locked it all down. So now this part is fully constrained, and everything looks great. Oh, I need to do the other side. Let's see. We'll hit finish sketch. I'll show you a new command on the flip side of this. No, I can't do that. Sorry, just kind of thinking ahead on that. Let me go back and let's mirror the pattern. We don't have a pattern here because it's going to be separate. So I'm just going to copy this geometry. So I'm going to select this shape right here, and now pick a base point. I'm going to pick this point and bring it over. Okay, so after I do that, now I'm going to just dimension it to the other side, so the 0.31. Alright, and making sure that I copy that over and we're keeping that locked in. That needs to be 0.31, and that's locked down. So finish that sketch, extrude that. I'm going to be extruding that away from me. If I'm correct, I'm going to hit the F6 button just to kind of turn that around. That looks beautiful. Hit the OK button, and now I'm going to use my fillet command once again. And if you look at the book here, they did not specify the radius, but we're going to go ahead and assume that that radius is 0.31 because they did not give a different dimension, and those circles look to be concentric. So I'm going to be using a 0.31 radius. And I'm going to pick the two selected edges. So that one there, hit OK, and there we go. So that's the finish of the 7-7 problem. And now we're going to cut this as a section. Since I only have a couple more minutes in this video, I'm going to try to get through this pretty quickly. I'm going to import the 7-7 problem and get that set up before continuing on. So get your C-size piece of paper and get ready to import the drawing. So I've selected the 7-7 drawing. I bring this in. This is bringing in as my front view. I don't want to bring this in as my front view because I'm planning on doing an offset section on this drawing. So I'm going to rotate this cube to the desired view that I want, and I'm going to set this right here and hit the OK button, and I'm going to create my section off of this drawing. So in the section toolbar, you're going to pick section. You're going to make sure you point and highlight the red box around this to signify that we're using this view. I'm going to locate my pointer, and I'm just going to highlight that green dot. I'm not clicking on anything yet. I'm not going to make the first click until I get over here. I'm going to come through and I'm going to just kind of freehand locate this. I'm trying to go in between all of my important features in this part, dragging that over, kind of eyeballing the center of this slot right here, and then out the side, right click, hit continue, and that's going to give us our front view for our section drawing. From here, you're going to have to, on your own, project over the right side view and then also project a isometric. So when you do the isometric, make sure you're using, well, probably bring in just another base view for that because you want to make sure that you have the orientation set up as like an isometric drawing. So I'm going to just drop that right there, and then I'll move that over and then shade that. I'm going to use projected to click on this view and bring over my right side view.